Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up in just a few minutes, we have our entertainment and pop culture segment brought to you by Romulus Entertainment. And our next guest is my dear friend, Melisa Billie Clark, author, editor, journalist, and host of Wellness 360. It's a brand new show that airs on Roku, cable network throughout the US and the Caribbean. Now, Melissa's focus has always been on positive journalism. She's interviewed some of the biggest names: Dr. Deepak Chopra, Fran Dresser, Michael Kutcher, Chaz Palminteri, Don Felder, Susan Lucci, Heather Graham, Judge Marilyn Milian. That's just to name a few. Today, she and I are chatting about the underrepresentation of women in media, both as consumers and as media personalities. Now, whether they were the voices over the microphone, the brains behind the operations, or the skilled technicians building the television masts and installing the radio valves, women have always played a role in getting information to the masses. Yet, women in media are still vastly underrepresented as men continue to dominate newsrooms across America. Men account for 70% of quoted sources and 66% of experts in all news stories, while female voices are still taking a backseat. Only 40% of TV news sources were women, while radio had only 36% and newspapers barely 28%. The number of women who were presented as experts was even lower. All very, very tragic stuff, if you ask me. Here to give us perspective is my dear friend, Melisa Billie Clark. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Thank you, Zen. Thank you so much for having us here. I'm so excited to be with you.
Thank you. So let's dive right in, Melissa. Here, women are more visible in the world's news than ever before, but we're still far more further away from achieving parity with men. Even with all the work that has been done to improve gender equity on screen, yes, there are so many players that have done so much work. Unfortunately, women are still underrepresented. What needs to change?
The money. What do you think? I mean, we're still getting underpaid, and we're still being underrepresented as women in journalism. We're not really being taken seriously. However, I really believe that things are changing. As I turn on CNN, I see, there's two women against one man. And they're, well, not against, but they're talking. And I just really think that the pay needs to change. Recently, there was a woman in San Diego. She left her job because her co-star was making $80,000 more. So I just think the money needs to change. What do you think?
I mean, the money needs to change. Attitudes needs to shift. The inclusion check marks need to actually be followed through with these big companies that say they actually want to do right by women. I mean, according to the just released Global Media Monitoring Project, women made up 40% of reporters and 25% of news sources across print, TV, radio, internet news, and Twitter. So this was a record result for women as both news workers and sources, but still, Melissa, well short of equality. And the report estimates it's going to take another 67 years to close the gender gap in news. That's not acceptable. So, from my perspective, it's a whole bunch of attitude shifts. It's a whole bunch of course, equal pay is equal rights. Of course, that's also important. But I really do think that women need to start to collectively have more of a united voice and stick together, because that's really going to pave the way.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we should build each other up too while we're at it. Once we do that, people will see that, we're there and we have each other's back. So it's still a topic, and it's still going to continue ongoing, because we'll never have fair rights as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's shift a little bit. How did you get started? And as a woman, what has been your hardest struggle in your TV and media career?
Well, I got started. I worked for Metropolitan Magazine, and I was a writer for them. And Adam Kluger, at the time, he was my editor. He said, I was interviewing Moby, and he goes, "Melissa, you should really be on camera." He goes, "You have something about you." So Adam was actually the first person to give me that confidence, and I loved it so much, and I took it and I went with it. So I started doing on-air interviews for them, and then from there I just started working for companies and just going on the red carpet and interviewing people, and I felt so happy where I was supposed to be in that life, at that time in my life. And what was the second question, Zen? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
your hardest struggle.
Oh, the hardest struggle is the ego in this industry. I received this message from Kimberly Meredith. She's a woman that I interviewed. It's either ego or I go. And, the ego I can't compete with. I always say that to everybody in this industry. I'm a kind person. I do a lot for others, and I don't expect anything in return, but I just expect some respect. So the hardest part of this industry is respect and just letting go of ego so you can do your job and everybody can work together properly.
Amen to that, sister.
Thank you.
Amen to
Thank you.
that.
That's right.
Um, yeah, so, at the end of the day, we need women in leadership roles. That's for sure, because it all, trickles down. So if you have women in leadership roles, if you have women at the top of the networks, if you have women at the top of the radio stations and presidents, then it really kind of changes the work ethic within a company. And of course, when you look at the statistics, I mean, research suggests women remain locked out of top roles in media and entertainment. And even with corporate America's increased focus on ensuring gender parity, women in this industry experience a more hostile workplace than men and
Yeah.
face a glass ceiling that really prevents them from reaching top leadership roles. Melissa, it's quite devastating. Over here in our case in live radio,
Mm,
there are over 4,000 radio announcers currently employed in the United States. 34% of all radio announcers are women, while over 65% are men. So,
wow.
we have big, big gaps here. But either way, this is not a venting about where we are. It's about how we could change the narrative and move forward, because women right now are a minority, and we really, really need to roll up our sleeves, stick together, unify, and pave the way for our children, the next generation. Now, a true connection with your audience, Melissa, has nothing to do with the amount of testosterone flowing through your veins, and everything to do with whether or not you are able to make and hold that connection. What do you love talking about the most? I know you have a new show coming up.
Yeah, I like to talk about helping other people, what we can do for our community. How can we use our journalism, our jobs for the greater good? What resources can we bring into to help people who don't have those resources and are not open to that? So, on this program, I want to talk about, I want to even bring animals into this. I want to, because veterinarian, it's such a high industry, it's high paying price, and people can't take care of their animals. So I want to bring in a lot of resources where we can talk about diabetes. I want to bring in experts, that can help people who cannot go to the doctor because they can't afford it. So we want to do that here in the U.S. We want to help out the people in the Caribbean as well, and give them a good quality of life. So that's what I want my job to be, and I definitely just want to help people who don't have these resources.
You are just all around, just a good soul. Now, if you could go back and give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I would tell my little baby girl that everything is okay. As you know, I buried two parents, and it doesn't get any lonelier in life than not having that unconditional love. So thank God I have my animals for that, and I have my beautiful sisters and my wonderful family and friends. But just that love from your parents is gone, and although I still feel them, but my little girl, I go back to her all the time, and I tell her everything is going to be okay. We're going to get through this with the grace of God. I'm totally into believing in a connection with God, and him and I are getting through this together.
You are totally faith-based,
Yeah.
in terms of your responses and your reactions. You're a pure soul, you're transparent. I love that, people feel comfortable talking to you, because I think, you finally have come full circle and you feel comfortable within yourself. I know that that doesn't happen overnight. I know that you have been at your career for quite some time, both as a woman and host in media and in entertainment. It's not always easy, but here you are, standing the test of time, launching your new show called Wellness 360.
Yeah.
You're going to cover it all. When and where can we hear the show?
So right now we have a launch date of 4/17, so April 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can find us on the website ulfn.org. We're on the Roku channel, and we are on cable network throughout the US and the Caribbean as well. So I'm looking forward to it. And you know me, I always promote myself. I'm so excited about it. And we thank you for coming on our AM show that we have here.
Oh, absolutely. You guys definitely have to check out Melisa Billie Clark. That was our entertainment and pop culture segment brought to you by Romulus Entertainment. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thank you very much, Zen. You're amazing. God bless you. Thank you.
Guys, definitely do check out her new show, Wellness 360, airs on Roku, cable network throughout the US and the Caribbean. You could head to ulfn.org. That was Melisa Billie Clark. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.